So how should you be spending your days as a general contractor? I think most contractors don't realize how much of their time is wasted on stuff that really doesn't matter. It doesn't grow their business, right? I found myself caught in the daily grind when I was starting my construction business. I was constantly putting out fires, answering calls, chasing down invoices, all that stuff, working extremely hard, but never actually moving things forward, never actually making more money, having more freedom, having less stress, stuff like that. So I've been there, and I want to help you in this video understand what you should be doing with your time if you're a general contractor. So if you want to grow a construction business that can grow and run without you, then you need to be intentional about how you spend your time. So I'm going to break down exactly where your time needs to be spent, how you should structure your days, what things should you actually focus on. This is the stuff that's going to actually help you scale. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand how to shift your time from doing just contractor related time to actually spending your time working on your business as a business owner. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, I started a construction company. It's now running on autopilot without me. It's called J Lane Construction, and I'm helping contractors all across the globe scale and automate their construction businesses. So if you want to learn more about that, just go to jesselane.com. I'll leave a link in the description, and maybe we'll see you inside Automation Blueprint. Okay, so the first part of this is how to view your time as a business owner. You might have heard some of this stuff before, but time is your most valuable asset as a business owner. Unlike money, you can't make more of it. It's like land, right? You're not making any more of it. But the problem is most general contractors treat their time like it's unlimited, right? You're wasting hours on low-level tasks instead of focusing on the things that actually grow your business. Okay, so I want you to think about it like this. If you're spending hours chasing invoices, calling subs, running to Home Depot for materials, you're actually turning yourself into a minimum wage worker. But successful business owners, right? Successful contractors, they don't spend their days on those little kind of time-wasting tasks, the smaller tasks, right? That someone else could handle for them, essentially. So the smart contractors that know how to scale their business, they buy back their time, right? By hiring and outsourcing and automating as much as possible, right? But here's the biggest mistake that I see. A lot of contractors, they say, well, why would I hire someone to do that if I could just do it myself? Have you ever had that thought before? I know I've had that thought so many times. Like, I can just do this myself. I'll just handle it, you know? But then you're spending 3 hours on paperwork instead of closing that $300,000 job, right? So think to yourself, what's the smarter investment, right? So what I suggest is that you start seeing time like money, right? Every hour spent on low value tasks is money lost, right? Many contractors that I see, they really do. They fall into the trap. Like, why pay someone else when I can just do it myself? But smart contractors understand that time and money are constantly being traded. And if done correctly, paying someone to do something for you is not an expense, but it's a very profitable investment. So once you start treating time as an asset and allocate it strategically, it's going to totally change the way you make decisions and how you spend your time. The second part about how you should be spending your time as a general contractor is starting your day with the most important tasks, the ones that are the biggest game changers to getting you towards your goals, right? The biggest needle movers, right? You've probably heard this phrase, eat the frog, right? And eat the frog first. And it doesn't sound fun, but it works. So the idea here is to tackle the thing that really matters the most, right? It's usually the hardest thing you have going on or the most important task, but to do that first thing in the morning when you're fresh. So you can build some momentum, right? If you knock out some big tasks early in the day, it kind of sets that tone of accomplishment, right? It makes everything else feel a little bit easier. It also helps you get past procrastination. And sometimes I like to start my days, doing small or medium tasks, depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling excited and I want to just go straight to that big frog, but sometimes you got to eat the little frogs, It depends. You have to kind of also be willing to work with how you're feeling each day. If you're feeling like a little unmotivated and you're feeling a little like you want to procrastinate, maybe just bite off some smaller tasks, right? So it kind of depends how you're feeling, but are important things that you should be focusing on as a business owner, right? Which would be things like marketing and sales and meeting clients and making a beautiful new website with copy that sells and funnels that can bring in new clients. Anything business development related or sales and marketing, in my mind, those are kind of like those big frogs that you should just be getting out of the way and just crunching through. But when I say small to medium sized stuff, I'm not talking about the low level fruit that you need to be delegating out that anyone can go grab. But so some of those smaller things that if you're feeling like you kind of want to knock those out first, like reviewing an estimate maybe before it goes out. Obviously, you're not the one doing the estimating per se, because you can hire someone for that, right? You're not the one doing the project management. You can hire someone for that. You're not the one doing the bookkeeping. You need to hire someone for that. But reviewing the accounts at the end of the month and stuff like that, bringing everything to you for review, those are some of those things that you could tackle. But then those big frogs could be more like the sales and the marketing and the things that really move the needle forward, right? But follow up with those key contacts, right? Those decision makers, those clients, or those leads that might become clients, right? Those are some big frogs that you could tackle while you're fresh, you know? So the whole point here is if you don't control how you start your day may wind up controlling you. All right, so the third part of this is blocking out time to think. One of the most overlooked aspects in growing a construction business is thinking. Most general contractors, they don't set aside time for strategic planning, for strategic thinking, right? They just react to whatever happens in the day. They wake up, they see the emails, the texts, the phone calls, all this stuff that's going on, and people are freaking out, all this stuff, but they don't actually block out time and turn their phone on silent to think. But here's the thing, some of the biggest breakthroughs in my construction business journey has come from giving myself time to think, right? Because ultimately, business and entrepreneurship is a strategic sport. So, and it's easy to get caught up in the hustle, the day-to-day grind, right? All the stuff, right? Answering all your emails, managing your team, putting out fires. But if you're constantly in do mode, right? You're basically just working in your business. You're not actually building a business, right? You're not working on it. So instead of rushing through problems, right? Just because you're short on time, and believe me, I've made so many mistakes in my life because I've done stuff like this and I didn't have time to think about it. Just like so much stuff going on, right? But if you have the time to think, you can weigh your options, you can anticipate some outcomes, right? You can choose the best path forward if you just give yourself and you allow yourself time to think, bro. So think about it like this. A job site doesn't run well without a blueprint, right? And a schedule, because someone pre-planned for that junk, you know? It's not just like it just starts happening perfectly. So you have to think about your business like this too. It doesn't grow without a strategy. So make time to think. Set aside at least a few hours per week and step back and ask yourself, where is my business going? What's working and what's not? You know, have I hired the wrong people? Have I hired the right people? Are the right people in the right seats or the wrong people in the wrong seats? You need to ask all these different questions, right? What major problems do I need to solve right now? Do you have an issue list of all the stuff that needs to be solved? And you see statuses of each one of those things. What's one decision that could change everything, right? So this, my friend, this is where growth happens. This is where you can scale your company. When you slow down and you think strategically, you start spotting opportunities that you've never seen because you're constantly just rushing through everything, right? So ultimately, the construction business and entrepreneurship in general is a strategic sport. It's all about which moves you decide to make, and that requires using your brain, and you have the time to think and use your brain, or else you'll never have the right thoughts, right? Okay, the fourth part about this is building systems or staying stuck forever. Because one of the biggest time wasters in any business, right, and especially the construction business, is reinventing the wheel every single day. If your construction company runs on memory instead of documented systems with clear checklists and clear processes and everything like that, you're going to stay stuck in the weeds. If you don't have systems in place, you are the system, right? And that means you're stuck. The best way to scale your business is to build repeatable systems, or SOPs. I talk about this a lot. And you want to build this for everything in your company, right? You want to standardize all of your workflows, and you need to spend your time on this, right? You want to spend your time creating checklists for those common tasks so your team can execute them without you. Even if it just is, going through a process. If you have to do a process that you know that needs to be done by someone else, make a Loom video, right? Record your screen, talk over it as you're doing it, and put that all into Structure, right? You can check out structure.com to get started and just put all your SOPs. There's an employee handbook section that you can fill out with all of these, written text, videos, photos, screenshots, arrows, Loom videos, whatever you want to embed into your employee handbook. And that'll help you dramatically to have everything documented and clearly just there so people can either read it or listen to it or watch it. In my opinion, at least I'm a visual learner, but if I watch a video, if I can just watch something done, I'm going to learn it so much better than trying to read something. Written is good as well. But if you just spend your time as a general contractor working on these systems, you can hire someone for this too, but review it with them, make sure it's right. Because if you have a wrong system out there, that's probably could be a little bit worse than having no system. Well, probably having no system is worse, but long story short, you want to have the right information. You don't want people doing stuff the wrong way. So hope that makes sense. Okay, the fifth part about this is all about you as the founder, right? The general contractor. Your real job is sales, marketing, networking, right? And biz dev. Most contractors, they don't market themselves, right? They wait for referrals, they hope for word of mouth, stuff like that. But that's why they stay small. The contractors who dominate, they make opportunities happen, right? So where should should your time go? You could start with networking, right? You want to meet developers, architects, real estate investors, and just schmooze them and talk to them and connect with them on social media after the event or before the event or whatever. Because the more you connect with these types of people, these are types of people that can either refer you or give you work directly, right? Give you construction projects. And you want to focus time on marketing, right? You want to create content. You want to showcase your past projects. You want to work on your website and your SEO, and you want to build an online presence, right? And you can build marketing materials and work on your truck wraps and your logos and your signs, and just, you can hire people to help you with this, but just make sure it's all happening with this is like a big frog that you want to focus on is getting all the marketing right and getting all, only you can really network. When you can hire a business development person, which, of course I've done for my company, but you as the CEO, if you're a CEO watching this, you should be the guy out there networking and shaking hands and kissing babies and stuff like that. And then you want to focus on sales. If you don't have a sales guy, your next order of business needs to be following up with leads, closing deals, refining your sales process, sending proposals, following up with proposals, getting in structure, making sure your estimator has the estimate built, reviewing that, sending the proposal out, following up on the proposal, getting them in the office is a huge way to, just grab their wrist and make them sign the contract. It's easy. Once they're there, they're like, they want to work with you. So if you're not actively growing your pipeline, you're leaving money on the table. You're not going to grow your construction business. The sixth part of how you should be spending your time as a general contractor is, and don't tune me out here, but taking care of your health, right? And I've learned this the hard way, right? I started getting fat, and I get it. Contractors, they're tough. They're grinding through long days, they're late nights, the back-to-back projects, but at some point your body's going to force you to stop, right? So taking care of your health proactively as an entrepreneur is a non-negotiable if you want to perform at your best and actually be sustainable in the long term, right? I do get it though. There are phases of your business life that require every single ounce of your energy, and you have to get through those hard times, and maybe you're not hitting the gym as much. But if it's constantly like that, and I've been in this place, but you're going to run yourself into the ground because you're running on fumes. You need to have the right fuel for your body, because if you're constantly exhausted, constantly stressed, and running on caffeine and takeout food, and you're not eating right, your decision making is going to suffer. And that's one of your biggest things as a contractor, as a CEO, right? And when your decisions suffer, so does your business. Some of the worst mistakes in your business career could happen if you're not taking care of your body with the right amount of sleep, the right amount of exercise, and diet. Okay, so I'll rest my case on that. Part 7 is planning ahead. You don't want to let the day own you, right? So you have to take control of your time. You can't spend your days in reactive mode, right? So successful GCs, they don't just react to what happens each day, they plan ahead. So here's how I recommend doing it. You're gonna schedule your week in advance. Don't let your calendar fill up with just all these random tasks that hit you. I understand some of these things might happen. You gotta kind of take some stuff on, but try as best as possible to plan for things in advance, right? You're gonna know what you're gonna focus on, a week ahead of time, at least. If you could do more, great. Make a list, even Sunday night or Friday before or whatever, of all the things that you wanna tackle that week, and be realistic about how long each task will take. I know that's kind of hard, but then prioritize the ones that move the needle, right? And block out time for that high value work. That's the thing I've been talking about a lot in this video, is those big frogs, that high value work, the stuff that's actually going to move the needle, right? Because if you don't set aside time for marketing and sales and building systems, none of that stuff is actually ever going to happen, right? So you really want to protect your time as much as possible. And we all struggle with this, but getting sucked into the daily grind, the emails and the fires, and you want to focus on what matters, right? And try not to use it as an excuse, right? Like all the different things that are popping up. What I've done is I've hired an executive assistant. Even now in my life, I have, my coaching company, my YouTube channel. This actually takes more work than you'd think, of all the planning and the thumbnails and the editing and the filming and the writing all of my thoughts down in scripts. And there's so much that needs to happen, let alone posting it and getting all the, the descriptions. And it's a lot to manage. And it probably takes up 20-30% of my world. So and then I have the software company and the coaching company. So I've hired an executive assistant because I was just getting inundated with, all these emails. And the more my brand grows online, the more emails I get. And it's a lot to manage. And so what I'd recommend for you, as far as that firefighter mode that you might be feeling like you're in, right, is get an executive assistant, someone to go through your email inbox. Because if you're going through your email inbox, it's eating up a lot of your energy, right? There's like an energy bar each day, and every email that you look at, every thing, every decision you make, it lowers that energy bar, and you get down to 10%, 20% or whatever, and you're exhausted, right? And you push past that because you actually have work to do, important stuff, but then you're at 11% and you're trying to do strategic thinking later at night and you're exhausted, right? It's just not a scalable way to do things. And so I'd highly recommend getting an assistant to go through emails and build a process. I built a whole email process for her to manage my emails emails and put them in certain labels, and everything's streamlined. When I see emails coming in on my home screen on my phone, I know it's handled. I don't even have to worry about it. But what I see most contractors doing is they wake up and they just react to whatever happens to them, right? They spend all day answering calls, solving problems, and chasing down all these random tasks, right? Calling all the subs and just making sure their employees are doing what they're doing. That's why they never make any real progress, right? But do you want to scale, right? Do you want to be intentional with your time? Because the more proactive that you are, the more your business is going to grow without you being in the middle of everything. So if you're thinking, well, all this sounds like really amazing and it sounds awesome and I actually really want this, but I don't have the time to actually get ahead, or I don't even know where to start. I don't even know exactly what to do. And the beautiful part about this is I can help. It doesn't have to be this way. I have a whole team on my coaching program, Automation Blueprint, and we help contractors just like you, because if you're still watching this, you're probably a general contractor dealing with some of these issues, and we can help. So if you're ready to build a business that can run without you and can scale, then check out jesselane.com and apply for our coaching program, and we will see you inside. And I look forward to radically transforming your construction business and giving you the freedom you deserve. And we'll see you in the next YouTube video too. Peace.